Hello and welcome to Woodworking Tips. I got something here that I made a while back. I call it my radial arm router. It's made out of surplus parts that most people don't have access to, but there's always more ways than one to build something, and I'm just offering this as ideas. I found it really useful. It's not really a radial arm router. Radial refers to a rotating arm, but that's what I call it because it's made kind of like a radial arm saw. It's got a router motor. I got a Harbor Freight motor in it. Just pull it across like that. Yeah, let me show you some details. Well, here's the radial arm router. It's basically just 4x4 tubing, thick walls, 1/4 inch thick, welded in an L shape. And I came across these linear slides and had a fabricating shop make this arm for me and mount the slides. And I made all this right here. This mechanism, of course this is more surplus parts, a dovetail slide here. Had to put 2 dovetail slides on there. Not 2 slides, but two bearing blocks to stop any kind of movement. I put it on a 3/8 16 thread branch rod, so one turn is 1/16 inch, which makes it really convenient. Check this out. To set your depth, you just go down to the top of the wood. Going the wrong way. Sounds like I need a little oil. Okay, right there is touching the wood. So if I want to go a 1/4 inch deep, I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm set to go a 1/4 inch deep. I usually go about an 1/8 inch deep with each pass. Seems to work better like that, but it's really easy to drop down while you're cutting your groove. So I'll put this camera back on a tripod and we'll demonstrate it. Okay, here goes. Barely touching. Well, there you have it. Perfect 1/4 inch groove, 1/4 inch deep. Well, I've used this thing quite a bit, but there are some drawbacks to it. I got it clamped on the back with some Destaco clamps, toggle clamps. And I've got this table pretty level, but if you got warped wood, the router for the table spacing remains the same, but if your wood's higher out here, your depth of your dado varies a little bit. So in that regard, clamping a guide to a piece of wood and using a hand router, it follows the contour to the plywood, and when you put your cabinet together or whatever you're building, it pulls the warp out of the wood and makes everything square. So that's a drawback to it. But I've used this thing a lot and haven't had too much troubles with things being out of squares. So it's a good idea. Like I said, most people don't have access to parts like this, but there's probably a bunch of different ways you could do the same thing, and maybe you'll find something, some surplus to make something like this. Well, thanks for joining me, and stay tuned for the next episode of Winky's Woodworking Tips.